I'm just going to get right into it, man. We met Chris. We've almost traveled around the sun one time. We met Chris, and immediately when we met Chris, we're like, oh, wow, he's got a different perspective on this whole fundraising thing and events, and we're going to get in the nitty gritty. Chris is a brilliant fundraiser and is a world-class benefit auctioneer and live fundraiser, live auction, fund and need, and so much more. And that's what's so cool from a consultative standpoint, what Chris is able to deliver. So we've had Chris on the podcast. Courtney's going to put up some of those episodes as well. So check those out, the Hey Nonprofits podcast. We've done a couple of recordings with Chris, and every time we do, it's amazing and so worth it. Everybody tuning in. So do that, check those out. And just so happy to have Chris Hensley. He's the founder of Bid Raise Bid. And does numerous events, almost 100 events a year in person, and has consulted numerous organizations as well. And what's really, really cool about Chris and his backstory, he's raised money for the American Cancer Society, the Northwestern Medicine Foundation as well, and did that for over a decade, right? Almost 2 decades, Chris? Yeah.
With the American Cancer Society, 12 years at Northwestern Medicine. Left Northwestern Medicine last fall to do auctions full time. It's my passion, right? Something had to give. I was doing 2 full-time jobs, but we had taken Northwestern Medicine from 50 million to 150 million a year in fundraising, and felt like left it in a better place. And that's, I think that everybody who works for a nonprofit, right? So all those event planners out there, development directors, we have a responsibility to leave these nonprofits in a better position than when we arrived there. Yeah. And I think I did that, and it was time to move on. So having the time of my life doing, like you said, almost 100 auctions, and just having a great time, raising a ton of money for a bunch of great causes.
I love that. Your origin story is awesome. And what you're doing now, what you're able to, and what's also really, really cool, Chris, I'm not putting words in your mouth, is that you are willing to test creative. They turn out to be very impactful. I know there's always, hits and misses, but a lot of the stuff that you do, like I said, is just so unique. I'm going to tease one of the things like, hey, not the first person I've ever heard say this. Not every bidding opportunity has to end in zero. And we're going to get into why and the science behind that. But you've created this really cool, like I said, this like scientific method of testing and hypothesizing at events. And what's cool is the exposure and the fundraising that comes out of it. And also, I appreciate you, brother, by the way, your willingness to share. So many folks in our space are like, oh, I'm going to hold on to this idea. And we're like, no, we got to give it all away for free. So I appreciate you adopting that ideology as well. But yeah, just the creativity and the way that you fundraise is fascinating to us.
Here's the thing, Trevor. I feel like what I bring, and this isn't bragging. Maybe it's a humble brag, but it took me. I'm 55 now, and I started this when I was like 46 or 47. So it took me 46, 47 years to figure out what I was best at in life. Right? You know what your strengths are, right? Everybody knows what their strengths are. But I think that because, as you talk about origin story, so because I grew up with a grandfather who was a Methodist minister, and I watched him perform, right, and raise money. And then in the 80s, I was in post-punk, punk rock bands, and so that got me comfortable on stage, right? And I think that stage comfortability is key. Danny, my partner, is comfortable on stage as well, plays drums. My auction partner. Yeah. And then I worked for nonprofits for 20 plus years, raising money. That helped me get comfortable doing those greatest fears in life, right? Asking strangers for money, standing on a stage, public speaking. So all of that prepared me perfectly to do what I do. And so I share because I think that if more nonprofits integrated some of the ideas that we're going to talk about over the next hour, that they would raise more money. And the evidence of that is going back to my spring events. So I've done 42, I think, already this year. I'm going to venture a guess that 35 to 37 of them set a record, right? Because we're doing some of these things that we're going to talk about over the next hour. Right. And if everybody did that, right, and if everybody found an auctioneer that's comfortable integrating those on live TV, right, which is essentially what we do. It's what we're doing now, but it's what I do 100 times a year, stand on a stage, play live TV and help these organizations raise a ton of money. So yeah, let's jump into it. Let's share some ideas and help people raise more money. I can't be everywhere. Not that I
Yeah.
need to be. There are great auctioneers out there, right?
Yeah.
But some of these ideas, please steal them. If you're an event planner, steal them. If you're an auctioneer, steal them.
I love that.
And raise more money, right?
100%. I appreciate that, man. Like I said, that's right in line with what we believe in. And even if it feels weird sometimes, I hear a couple things. Once again, give everything away for free. All these ideas. What's usually going to come out of that is that, oh, it's like, even if someone goes, oh, I want to do that, but then maybe we can add this piece, and maybe we, the gold that comes out of that as
Yeah.
well. But I also hear like not being averse to change or trying new things, because like we've always done it this way is one of the worst statements that we've ever heard in fundraising. So I appreciate you're pushing that agenda
Yeah.
and encouraging people
Yeah.
to add these changes.
And
Yeah, it's good stuff.
here's the bottom line, and I
Yep.
say this all the time. One, ask, right? In
Okay.
life, this
Yep.
isn't just about auctions. Ask, right? If you want, ice cream, ask, right?
Yeah.
If
Yep.
you want to raise $250,000 after raising 150 last year in your auction, ask,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So the worst thing that can happen is the answer is no, right?
Yeah.
And so you get a no and you move on, right? So
Yeah.
um, you got to ask, but the other thing is for all the event planners that are out there, uh, it's your event,
Yeah.
right? And so I'm going to throw out 5, 10 ideas that each of which could raise more money. Some events can handle all of those ideas, and by handle, I mean like some events just aren't wired to do all of the fundraising things, right? They're doing other components. They're honoring somebody. They've got this or that or whatever, and so adding 4 or 5 different components. And some events, like maybe last year all they did was a paddle raise, maybe they didn't even do that, right? Maybe they just did an award ceremony, and so adding things in purposefully over time, it makes it so that it becomes this like iterative thing instead of just forcing it, right? So you got to understand your event, and the event planners, the event chairs, all that, they're going to know the event so much better than me. They live it every day, right? I
Right.
parachute in at the 6 month mark, at the 2 month mark, at the two
Yeah.
week mark, and
Yeah.
then I'm there real time, right?
Yeah.
And we execute. They know their event, they know their organization better than I'm going to know it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll
No, it's
get to
great.
know it over the few years that I do the event, but they're going to know it better than me. So they're the ones that have to like listen to all of these ideas and then say like, oh yeah, we want to do that, we want to do that, and we
Yep.
want to do that.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. Nothing says you have to do it all at once. You said something, and I love that. And you can integrate. This is a long play, right? The best time to advertise your next event is the night of the one that you're doing right now, for
Right.
instance, right? So
That's it.
it's an iterative thing. You said I parachute in 6 months in, 2 months in, and we just decided like just to start with this topic. You wrote a brilliant blog post about it. Courtney will put it up on the in the chat so folks can grab it from your site because your blogs are great. I want to start with engaging table hosts because I feel like we can do that obviously well pre-event. It's part of the sponsorship and underwriting piece of getting dollars in the door, pre-committed dollars, which we talk about so darn important, and we can go down a rabbit hole with that. But talk about your approach to engaging table hosts for the development staff, event planners that are listening, and will be listening in perpetuity on the recording as well, about how to engage them to get more money in the door.
Yeah. So it's all in there in the link. It's also on my website at bidraisebid.com, on the blog page. But it's the reason I have that 6 month out conversation, Trevor,
Okay, cool.
right?
Yeah.
Because and I call that, like, if you hit my Calendly, it's like, it's on there as 6 month out strategy call, right? That's where you can talk strategy 6 months out. You can't talk strategy 2 months out or 2 weeks out. You can a little bit 2 months out, but if you have 6 months to plan, and really look, planning an event is at least a 12-month cycle, right? As you pointed out, absolute best practice at the end of the night, put next year's date on a screen, put it on whatever your go away gift is. If you leave a water bottle in the cup holders of the cars as people pick them up, at the end of the night from valet, like put a little tag on it that says thank you on one side and it has next year's date on the other side, right? I mean, just these little things, like these are your customers, right? If you have 500 people at this year's event, you want to get as many of those 500 back next year. Now, I would also argue you want to dig in on the data on those 500 people. right? You want to find out which ones of those 500 performed, right? Which ones supported you, right? And which ones didn't. And you want to lean in. If 300 of those 500 were supportive, and 200 of those 500 were super supportive, like start with those 200 people first, right? I was just consulting with an organization the other morning, and they had 94 paddles raised at their event last year. And I was like, well, what are you doing to get those 94 people back? Right? That's job number one. Get those 94 back and then build on it. So table hosts, in my opinion, and so this is all based on, there was this woman in Chicago, Lee Kite, and sadly Lee passed away about, probably 2 years ago now, of cancer after just making such an incredible impact in the cancer fight herself, for decades. She started the Discovery Ball in Chicago in like 2006 or 7, and it's like a $3 to $5 million a year event now, right? But it was like a $2.5 million event in that first year. And it was because Lee created this thing called a leadership council, right? And the leadership council had like multiple responsibilities. So one was like you commit to a table, but you don't just say, yeah, we'll have a table, and then you forget about it, right, until 2 weeks out, and then you scramble and you fill it with interns or marketing staff or whatever. Nothing against interns or marketing staff, they make the world go round, but they don't always raise their paddle at big dollar amounts, right? And so you want your table host to host the table. That means they're going to be at the event, right? If they agree to be at the event, they're likely also then to invite people who are their peers, their neighbors, their colleagues, their college roommates, whatever. Like, so if you can get the C-suite whatever from whatever sponsor to host that table, they're likely to bring a bunch of other C-suiters with them, right?
Yep.
And so we want them then to make a commitment to what they're going to raise their paddle at in advance, right? That table host, right? Because the table host is going to lead the way for everybody else, right? So if you have 500 people, 50 tables at 10, and you can get 50 table hosts, and those 50 table hosts will make a commitment in advance to raising their paddle. Maybe last year they were at the event and they raised their paddle at $1,000. And so as an event planner, development director, you should be thinking about what can I do to have a conversation with that table host that raised their paddle at $1,000 last year to get them to commit to $2,500 this year, right?
How do we do that?
And then you empower those table hosts, those 50 table hosts, to have conversations with the people who they have invited, right? And that conversation's all in this email. It's all in this blog post. It goes something like this. PJ and I are going to raise our paddle at $2,500 this year, and I hope you'll do something similar. Right?
Brief, but just super easy. You're telling them what to say. You give them the message. Copy paste. Very brief. I hear a lot of stuff there. Yeah.
For the event planner to send out a message to 500 people and say, this is the development director, the development manager, the development coordinator putting on the event, living and breathing this every day, trying to make sure you've got 500 people there, trying to make sure that those 500 people come ready for action, right? Yeah. As that development director, development manager, event manager, you send those 500 people a note that says, we hope, last year you gave $500. We hope this year you'll give 1,000, right? Most of those emails don't even get read, but when the person who invited you, your table host, when they send that message, 2 lines, right? We're going to give 2,500. I hope you'll join me. We're going to give 2,500. I hope you'll make a personally significant gift as well.
There's the bar. Right?
Yeah. When they send that, it's 50 deputies, ambassadors for your cause, who believe in you to the point where they bought a table through their corporation because they're a board member or whatever, right? And then you get them to commit to their gift. They communicate to their guests. So you've got 50 ambassadors out there communicating to your 450 other guests. And they're asking them, and that email gets opened every single time. Every time, because it's a personal relationship.
Totally. Let me Oh, how far out in advance? Sorry, that's where I got a little.
Yeah, so we're going to discuss this strategy at that 6 month out call, and
Okay.
sometimes that 6 month out call happens at month four, right? 4 months out.
Sure. It is what it is.
Right. So, and somebody just asked me this question yesterday, and I said, you know what? I mean, if they started doing that 6 weeks out, at 2 months out,
Okay.
that one, what that means is the table host is thinking about who are the other 8 people who are going to join us at our table, right?
Yep.
And if they're thinking about that 6 weeks to 2 months out, that means they're going to have a kick-ass table, right?
Totally.
And that means they're not going to come back to you the week of the event and say, we couldn't fill our table. We're going to give it back to you. Like they think they're doing you a favor by giving you the table back. They're leaving you after you've already done your food and beverage minimum. They're leaving you with an empty table, right?
Totally. Yeah.
And then you don't know, maybe somebody from that company is coming to the event. So you set up the table hoping that somebody shows up, and they don't. So then on the periphery of your event, you've got 3 or 4 empty tables, and that just looks like it just kind of saps the energy out of the room. So if your table host is thinking in advance about, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a $2,500 commitment. I'm going to invite these 4 couples to join the two of us, right? And so that's our 10 people. And then because I'm making that $2,500 commitment, because I believe in this mission, I'm going to ask each of my guests who didn't pay a dime to be at the event, by the way, right? I'm going to ask them to make a commitment as well. Right.
Yep. Yep.
And so, what I've seen is like that takes an event from, 50% of what it could raise to 80% of what it could raise, right?
Yep.
The Mercy Home here in Chicago, the Mercy Home for boys and girls is just this incredible live away organization that, helps kids get on track, helps them with their education, all that kind of stuff. They have a leader council, and it's run by these incredible women, Sue and Bridget, and they've become friends almost, right? But they took this idea and they ran with it, and they went to the 30 or so 35 leadership council members. They all agreed, yeah, we'll each do a $1,500 gift. Last year it was kind of onesie twosie.
Yep.
And this year they all did it in unison, right? And so
Yep.
what we did, and we're going to get to this in a little bit, but we put a different color paddle in the hands of those leader council members, all women, by the way, I think. So when that $1,500 level came up, you saw all these blue paddles go up, right? And it was like, whoa, something unique is happening right now. And I
Yep.
called it out. And so it was like the leadership council, the leader council was leading the way, literally leading the way in this room of several hundred people. And so then it created this like FOMO, or this like unspoken peer pressure,
Yep.
that you all should be raising your paddles now as well. And so we got all these gifts that went from 500 to 1,500, 1,000 to 1,500, and
Yep.
that we set a record. We didn't just set a record; we absolutely crushed their previous fundraising.
I love the idea on so many levels, and then also, the fact that you're just involving more people at that level, and that way you don't. If you're the development staff, if you're the event planner, if you're all the above, and you're wearing the 14 hats, you're not doing it alone. I love that piece of it. I also, quick disclaimer though too, Chris. Like if folks are like, "Hey, I only have 10 tables at my event. It's a smaller event." And no one's ever given more than $500. That's totally cool. Those are the numbers, right? Like the example was 1,000 to 2,500
Yeah.
with 50 table hosts. But even if it's a smaller event that's just kind of getting going, or doesn't even want to necessarily build beyond that, obviously it sounds like it's going to be an easier lift because there's going to be less table hosts. But the numbers are the numbers. The point is you want to invite these people to get involved and then ask them to give more. Like I said, the numbers are the numbers, right? I'm not putting words in your mouth, but yeah.
Yeah, so Lee Kite took it a little bit further. So she created this leader council that hosted their table. They invited key people. They made a pledge commitment in advance. They talked to the people about what they were going to do, their guests at their table, and then they committed to help build something into a live auction package. It might be the entire live auction package. It might just be one component. They committed to recruit. This is the key. They committed to recruiting one more leader council member. Right.
There you go. Yeah.
It becomes exponential, and 50 recruit 50, those 100 recruit 100, right?
Yeah.
Not everybody does it all, but if you ask all of them to do it, some of them are going to do some of the things, and all of those things help you grow your event.
Totally. Yeah, you're inviting them to get involved at that level. I think it's massive. Hey, Kenzie, I just want to let you know, I see you. Thanks so much for coming back again. I appreciate you so much. I'm gonna save that question if you don't mind, Kenzie. I want to hit Chris with some rapid fire stuff at the end. And that will definitely be one of the questions. So I see you, and we'll definitely get to it. Okay.
Yeah.
And also a nudge to everybody else. Anything, it doesn't matter. Whatever challenges you're facing, new ideas that you haven't tried before, put it in the chat. We'll get to all the questions. We'll save time at the end and absolutely get there. Okay. So
Yeah.
we'll
And even if
definitely do
it's
it.
afterwards, like we can.
Yeah, 100%. No, we're on it. No, this is Kenzie's got a great question. Yeah.
Clearly,
Kenzie's
this
got
is my passion. I'm willing to talk about this all day and all night.
100%. We're putting your business in the street afterwards too, man. So folks are gonna be able to find you. Okay, you mentioned something about blue paddles. Once again, fascinating. When we met you, you immediately started talking about being really, really intentional about the paddles, the different giving opportunities, and recognizing these people, and like you said, the FOMO. All these things are real. These things are very, very real,
Yeah.
and we'll get into that from a legacy giving and a monthly recurring, sustainable, just overall sustainable giving package that we want to talk to you about too, for sure. Before we end here, but let's talk about the perfect paddle, the perfect bidding paddle. You have some.
Yeah.
I love that you brought some examples, but yeah, you get really, really, like I said, Chris, you get scientific about this, man. So let's get into creating the perfect. We're there in the night of, and obviously the planning piece. But let's get into the perfect bid paddle and why it means so much.
Yeah. So this is a topic I love, and it's kind of evolved, right? Like initially, I'd walk into an event and they'd have whatever paddle they had, and it looked like this, right? And I was like, ooh, that after
Eight
a
and a half
while,
by
you're
11,
like,
man. 8.5 by 11.
yeah. After a while, you're like, well, that doesn't really cut it.
Yeah.
And so when you see more paddles, when you have a huge room, you need paddles to do different things. And so, yeah, so there's a lot on paddles, right? And there's a blog post on this as well.
Yep.
And I trust Courtney's going to like just pop it right in there right
She
now.
will.
So,
Yeah.
So first of all, don't ask your guests to walk around your cocktail hour, your connection hour, as Bobby D calls it. And I love that. I've used that so many times. Kudos to Bobby D out in New York. But don't ask your guests to walk around with their paddle, right?
Okay.
They're going to lose it. Those who don't want to play are going to give it up. And then when something comes around where they're like, "Ooh, I wish I had my paddle," well, it's in the garbage can in the men's room, right? I mean, I see them all the time, right? So if you put this paddle in their hand and then ask them to walk around with that for an hour, there's nothing about this that says I should keep this, right? So if you're gonna give it to them in the cocktail hour, at the very least, put their name on it, right?
Yes.
Put their name on it. And the reason for that is like it makes it more personal. It's like I'm not going to leave this sitting around, because if somebody sees this and I'm Rita, they're going to think I don't care about this mission, right? They're going to be like, "Oh, Rita abandoned her paddle. Like she's clearly not giving tonight." And then if I know Rita's almost giving me permission to abandon my paddle as well, right? So put their paddle on it, or put their name on it. And the other reason this matters is like I call it hand-to-hand combat. I'm a tactile fundraiser, right? I'm going to get off the stage in the audience. I'm moving throughout the room. There's videos on my website. You can see me doing it. When I come up on paddle 724, I'm going to say 724 at $2,500. Rita, thank you so much for your gift. And if I know something about her, thanks for coming back. Thanks for your membership. And the, Guardian Council thanks for, wow, look at those shoes. Look at that hair. Look at that dress. Look at that beautiful smile. It feels great to give, right? We're having a great time, but I'm calling her by her first name, right? It's instant stewardship for your donors, right? Instant recognition in front of those 350, those 500, those 1,000 people, right? And it creates this thing amongst other people that says, well, I want to be the center of attention like Rita was for a moment also, right? So then when I come upon Blair and Dave, I say, Blair and Dave, thank you so much for your gift as well. 307 at $2,500. And I give them a fist bump or a high five and I move on, right? And so what that also is doing is it's giving our recorders, you event planners out there, the ability to connect to collect the number 307 on your sheet, on in your One Cause, your Give Smart, your AES, your Classy, whatever platform, so that then the name pops up on the screen. That's a gold standard thing,
Okay.
because if you've got 500 people in the room and somebody on the left flank says, well, who was that just gave $2,500, and they can't see them, but it ends up being a colleague of theirs or a friend of theirs or somebody they compete with or somebody they go to church with, whatever. They can't see them on the other side of the room because there's so many people in your audience, but they can see the name up on the screen. That's gold, right?
Yeah.
Absolute gold. So,
Yeah.
all right. So big, bold, sans serif numbers, right?
Yep.
8.5 by 11 card stock. I think it's like an 80-pound card stock.
Yep.
Name as ridiculously big as possible, right?
Okay. Yep.
On the back side, the back. So I charge roughly about $5,000, right, to do what I do, and
Okay.
that's everything, consulting all the way up through the event, post-event, post-mortem, that kind of thing. Why not cover my fee by
Okay.
putting a sponsor logo on the back of your paddle,
Love
right?
it.
So
Underwrite.
every time, if I'm over here and somebody's showing me their paddle, what am I as the donor looking at? I'm looking at that logo. That's the most high priced logo placement of the night. And so sell that for $5,000 and get a free auctioneer out of it, essentially, right?
So good.
And if you're not going to do that, then list your live auction packages on the back, so
Okay.
people know, like, as it comes up, put a
Yep.
QR code on there for them to pay, you know. So
Perfect.
use that real estate. That's important real estate, right?
So good.
And so those are some of the basics on bid paddle. If you have to give people something at cocktail at sign in, there's like this 8.5
Okay.
by 11 folded,
Okay.
with the event program and dinner and all that kind of thing. What am I going to do? I'm going to take it and put it in my suit coat, right?
Okay.
Safekeeping, so that when I need it, when the auctioneer steps on the stage and says, "Folks, I give you permission. Pull that thing out of your pocket, pull it out of your purse. It is time to get busy," right? You can also, if it works with your theme, you can also put it on a lanyard. There's your bid paddle right there on a lanyard, wear it around your neck, kind of thing.
Okay. Okay.
This one was really elegant. I walked into this event and I saw all these sitting on the table, right? This is like, I don't even know what's 3 by 5.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Smart. I
You're
love
right.
that.
So the only thing it's missing is name,
The name.
right?
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
like that because, again, it's just like super simple. So women's board, they obviously thought about, like, where am I going to put that? Oh, I'm going to put it in my purse.
Yeah.
So there it
Yeah.
is, right? But
So good. Oh
yeah,
my goodness.
so those are some thoughts on paddles. Now, we talked about color. I think we're going to hold that for a little bit, though.
Sure. I want to tie that into that legacy piece and the monthly recurring piece, if you like, and you do whatever you like, sir. Because actually, we could have ended the webinar right there with that bit of data. Actually, it's like we could have dropped the mic on that one right there. Even and once again, I get chills when you talk about the underwriting opportunities that are everywhere. You already mentioned the bottles in the car when they pick them up. Wow. Okay. Wow. Or just the bottle.
That was leakite as well. That was
Yeah,
leakite.
just when you're leaving, get the bottle. If someone's not getting your car, for instance. But then the real estate on the back of the paddle for underwriting for thousands of dollars. Please, everybody, take note of that. Massive.
Yeah.
And that could just be, once again, just part of your sponsorship package. So
Yeah.
good.
For
So
sure.
good.
Spell that from
Yeah.
the very beginning.
I love that.
One other point on bid paddle. So I talked a lot about, like, if you have to give it out during cocktail, whatever, there's your strategies. But the ideal is that they are waiting for you on the table, right?
Okay.
So if you've got tables of 10, 50 tables of 10, you've got 50 stacks of 10 bid paddles with the host bid paddle on the top. Their name on the top, and put some nice ribbon around that pack, right, so that it works with your color scheme through the night. Make it look pretty. Make it look like it's a gift waiting to be opened in the middle of the table, and that way they're there on the table for safekeeping, right?
Okay.
And so when I come up on stage, it's time to make magic happen for this organization.
Yeah.
Let's grab that stack of bid paddles. Many of you are probably already grabbing them. I see people, they've been to these events before. They know what they're doing. They're passing them around already. I compliment them. Then we do a little bit of paddle practice. Who's here last year? Who's Cubs fan, Sox fan, whatever it is. And then I do a couple quick rules. Those rules are, like if you're not raising your paddle, your hands should be coming together, cheer a little bit, cheer people on, motivate them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I see it all the time when the audience starts cheering, it motivates donors to keep bidding, right?
Yeah.
And especially in live auctions.
Love it.
And then we're not here for deals. Dig deep, give generously. And rule number three is if you're here with a significant other, your job is simple. You have one job: let them have it. Right? Don't dissuade them.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah,
don't talk
exactly.
them out of it. Don't sit there and say, "Gosh, do we really want to go to Tuscany next spring?" No,
Yeah.
we want to go to Tuscany
Don't
next
rob them of their joy. Come on
spring.
now. Yeah.
Steal
Yeah.
their spark.
Hey, we're our next topic actually really goes in nicely with Kenzie's question. I'm going to hold off. I'm holding on the next topic. I'm going to jump. Because we're still talking about bid paddles. So I want to talk about the giving opportunities do not have to end in zero. I'm going to tie that into Kenzie's question about the fund and need. Okay, so we'll come back to that. So coloring outside the lines just a little bit. We're talking about bid paddles, and this ties into this next concept that you created. I've never heard anyone talk about it, and it's about legacy giving and the color of the paddles and laying that down and talking about that.
Yeah.
And then I want you to, and I'll keep us on track, but I want you to talk about how that could tie into monthly recurring
Yeah.
programs, sustainable giving programs, because legacy and monthly recurring for sure as well. But talk about your story that you mentioned to me about legacy giving and recognizing those
Yeah.
people, at that moment of the event as
Yeah.
well, please, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
Uncanny.
we
Yeah.
met out in the Southwest. We met you and I met in Arizona.
Yep.
And I have a client in Tucson that I just absolutely adore. I do some monthly consulting with them as well, called Integrative Touch, and just making a world of difference for people going through tough times. Kids, sick kids. And improving the quality of their life. So a shout out to Integrative Touch. But they trusted me in the second year. I think first year I get it, like you don't know who I am, and then I come out and I set a record for you, and so then the trust level in year two is just off the charts. And so we were talking one day, and their executive director Shay and I said, what are some goals that you have? And one of those goals was. To increase the number of people, to establish a planned giving program and increase the number of people who had disclosed a planned gift to them. And I said, well, how many do you have? This is maybe like 2 months before the event. How many do you have? She said, I think we have about five, right? And as it ended up, they had seven people who were going to be at their event who had already disclosed either verbally or through some form that they that donor was including integrative touch in their estate plan, right? And so it just hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, why does every bid paddle have to be white? Like we don't want the colors of the 20 flags out there, but like you can afford to have two or three different colors in your room, so that when that first paddle goes up, your auctioneer is like, hey, wait a minute, something different is happening. Just like with those blue paddles for the leader council at Mercy Home here in Chicago. And so we put a gold. Well, so the first donor to Integrative Touches Planned Giving Society happened to have the last name Gold, right?
Oh, wow.
Um,
Okay, cool. Yeah, yeah.
and so so we named the Planned Gift Society in his and his wife's honor, the Gold Legacy Society,
Wow.
right? And so then we put like this shiny gold paddle in the hands of those seven individuals, so that when the first paddle went up, I said, 348 at, I think it was $10,000, right? So 348 at $10,000. Thank you so much for that gift. And folks, look at this. This is a different color paddle. And can you stand up? So I had this guy stand up, and he's holding his gold paddle up still. And I said, in fact, there are seven of you in this audience tonight holding a paddle that looks like this, right? Could you each stand up for a moment, right? So the other six people stand up. In some cases, their partner, their spouse, whatever, stood up with them, right? And they've got their arm around each other. They're waving their paddle. They've got a big smile on their face. And I said, folks, these individuals have made a commitment to integrative touch that they will include the organization in their estate plan. We've created the new Gold Legacy Society, and that's why they're holding a gold paddle here tonight. So what that did, right? A planned gift is among the easier gifts to get, right? But it is also the easiest gift to lose, right?
Mm.
Especially if your organization struggles with stewardship, right? So when somebody has included you, has told you that you're in their estate plan, they should become among your best friend, right? Because what your job is to do is between now and when that gift matures, when they pass, is to make them to bring them into the organization as close as possible. Because if they've given you 10%, when they're age 65,
Yeah.
you still have 90% that you could grow, right? You could get their entire estate plan still, right? So, or you could go from 10% to zero because you didn't steward them, right? It's the
Yep.
easiest skip to change, right?
Yep.
You hear these stories all the time about famous people, like, such and such organization thought that they were in somebody's estate, but then, the family found a spiral notebook that was handwritten, that was an update to their estate plan, and it didn't include that organization. So the organization gets shortchanged, right?
Yep.
But so your job is to keep them as close to you as possible. What that's also going to do is once somebody has made a planned gift to an organization, I learned this through years as a development director for the American Cancer Society and for Northwestern Medicine. Once they've included you in their estate plan, they are committed to you like no other donors are, right? And so they are going to give you, they now are invested in you. They want to see the impact of their giving. And so they're going to start giving to you. Sometimes they're going to deduct it from what they're going to give to you in their estate plan. Sometimes they're just giving it to you outright.
Yeah.
One of the best gifts I ever got at Northwestern was a planned gift form. It was literally just a piece of paper, right? And it was for a planned gift of $10 million. And the donor wrote it out 10, comma, 000, comma, 000.
My
And
word.
then wrote the percentage estimated of their estate next to it, 10%, right? So then I knew, I mean, you learn so much, right? I knew this donor has $100 million in their estate, right? And so what that told me was like, build a relationship with this guy, because
Of
they,
course.
they have $100 million today. They're in their 60s. They're probably going to live for another 30 years. That
Yep.
100 million is going to become 500 million, a billion, whatever it is. And
Yep.
if we still get 10%, that means that's going to be $100 million, not $10 million. But if I can convince him to go from 10% today to 25% or 30% over the years, because I built a relationship with him, that becomes 250. Even if it stayed at $100 million, it becomes $25 million when it matures, right? So build a relationship with people, right?
Yep.
Especially those plan giving people. But here's the other point on that. In the room, when those 7 people
The
raised their gold,
recognition at the event. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Yep.
those 7 people raised their gold paddles. It was instant stewardship for those 7 people.
Yep.
But for the other 343 people in the room, it planted a seed for them that said, "Oh, I never even thought I could make a planned gift
Yep.
to this
Yep.
organization, right?"
Yep. Yep.
And so if your strategy is planned gifts, if your strategy is monthly giving, if your strategy is recurring gifts, if your strategy is increased gifts, whatever it is, like, choose one or two of those strategies and utilize your event to advance those strategies,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And there's
Absolutely.
a strategy and a tactic for every one of those things you're trying to move forward, right?
Yep.
If you want to move your, I know there's I'm just going to call a timeout real quick. There
Yeah. Yeah.
there are there are a number of people that will say events, we don't really need them anymore, right? Events are probably the number one or number two best source of bringing new donors into your
No
organization.
question.
It's the number one or number two best way to create a mid-level or major gift donor.
Correct.
It's a great way to engage people more deeply in your mission, right? And so why not utilize an event? Should never exist for the sake of the event, just for a party, right? We're
Yep.
going to raise some money, but we're going to have a great time,
Yeah.
you need to think about, what are my organization's other strategies, right? And it may not even be fundraising related, but when those strategies are fundraising related, let's have a conversation about that. We want to increase the number of monthly givers, right? Okay, Lynn, how many do you have right now, and how many of them are going to be in the room? Give them a different color paddle, highlight that. Follow up after the event with every single $50, $100, $200, $250 donor, and ask them, again, back to the beginning. What's the worst they can do? They can say no, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was talking to this donor at Northwestern Medicine once, and he said, I used to give mostly to you and to this other organization that like it was like they teach kids how to sail or something up in Minnesota, and he's like, and I'm taking their their gift giving and I'm giving it to you all now. And I was like, well, why are you doing that? And he said they stopped asking me, they stopped calling me, they
Yeah.
stopped sending me messages.
Tragic.
Every time I hear from them, they're asking me for money, right?
Hmm.
Like there's no relationship there. It's just transactional. Like,
Yep.
build a relationship with people, right? If you
Yep.
reach out to them after the event and give them a genuine thank you first, right?
Yep.
That opens the door to you being able to do all of these other things with them over the course of the year. And when you keep in touch with them like that, and I get it, there's a lot that's on the plate for those event managers, those development directors, your current customers, your immediate past customers, maybe you lost them for a year or two. Those are the people that are going to give you the most money. They believe in your mission. They have bought your product before. Like, go back to them first.
They're the
Build
ones
a
that believe in you the
relationship.
most. They're the ones that believe in you the most. I want to quickly, we double clicking on this. We just had a Bill High, legacy giving, and just overall, just brilliant financial mind as well. And an author, brilliant author. Bill High came on the podcast. If Courtney wants to grab it, she can, but it's not a plug. But, and he came on just to let everybody know what's going on with the planned giving, the legacy giving piece. There's going to be the biggest transfer of wealth that's ever existed in human existence over the next 15 years. And it's at minimum $70 trillion.
Yeah, I've been
At
hearing about this for
minimum.
20 years, and it is now happening.
It
Right.
is now happening over the next 15 years. Some people call it the silver tsunami with baby boomers and what have you. And the transfer of wealth that's going to happen once again over the next 15 years is astonishing.
Yeah.
So think about adding these things to your event. Just think
Yeah.
about adding these ideas and these fundraising tools to your organization's purpose
Yeah.
because it's real, and other organizations are doing it right now. Massive.
Yeah, and it's also why, like, events probably skew a little bit younger, but if the 38-year-old today is going to inherit $20 million from mom and dad in 15 years when they're 53, like, and you started when they were 38,
Come
right?
on.
I mean, the biggest donor in Northwestern Medicine's history has their family name on the side of a hospital. They gave $250 at an event in 1994. They've given $94 million since then, right?
Yeah,
Um, you know,
massive.
you
It
build a
starts.
relationship with them. It's
It has to
starting
start
at
somewhere.
home.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. I want to quickly. I want to hit Jennifer's question real quick, and then Kenzie, I'm coming to yours, and we're going to talk about the fun and need as well. Beautiful the way you laid that out with legacy giving and monthly giving. Hope everybody took notes on that. Jennifer had a great question. How do you tie a match into your event?
yeah,
I was presented with a
yeah,
$25,000 new money match and have never had this before. Great question. Congratulations, by the way, Jennifer. So yeah,
yeah,
let's
exactly.
get your opinion
Yeah,
first.
so I think the biggest thing is like with a match is like where you utilize it, right? So if you had a $25,000 match, but you've got two donors that are going to give you 10,000 right at the beginning, don't come out with that match right at the top, Jennifer, right?
Okay.
So if you do, you're going to meet the match at the higher levels, and it's not going to motivate the people who are motivated by matches, which is your lower and middle end of your spectrum, right? So I believe that a match is best used at either $1,000 level or a $500 level, right? What you should do, Jennifer, though, is look into the data of your event, right? Most events follow some type of bell curve, right? And at the top of that bell curve is where you want your match to be, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to take the biggest quantity of people, right? And again, usually it's going to be at either $500 or $1,000 for most events. That's what I find. You're trying to take those $500 donors and make them $1,000 donors, and you're trying to take $1,000 donors and make them 1,500 or $2,500 donors, right? You're trying to upgrade people, right? So look at your data. If you had 17 people at $1,000 last year, that's where I would use a $25,000 match, right? Because you're likely going to get back in that same ballpark again, right? And then the idea of the match is going to pull some people forward from 500 up to 1,000, right?
Yep.
What I'll also do in the moment is be like, hey, there's a match on the table here right now, folks. If you gave money upstream, if you gave 10,000 or 5,000 or 2,500, give another $1,000 now and get it doubled. right?
Come on now.
Let's make
Yeah.
the full match. What I have found also is that, I mean, in almost every case, I struggle to think of an event that had a match that was missed because it is human nature to want to achieve that match. It's also why I ask my clients every time we're doing a paddle raise, what's your goal? What's your dollar goal that you want publicly stated, right?
Yeah.
So you raised 94,000 last year. Okay. Well, the stock market's up 18% year over year. What's 18% on 94,000? Let's go to 110 this year, right?
Yeah.
And I'll literally on stage, I'll say, folks, you're wealthier than you've ever been before. And now I'll read the room, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not always the right thing to say, but you're wealthier than you've ever been before. When we were together last year at this time, the stock market was 18% lower than it is today, right? If you're at all invested in the stock market, you have 18% more money today to spend. So let's put those paddles in the air, right? So it's just these little messages, right? That sometimes I use them, sometimes I don't. But that match is all dependent upon your data, right? So
Get
find
lost in the
that
data.
spot
Yep.
where you still want you have the opportunity to make the full match, but you're gonna ask people to stretch a little bit, right?
Yep.
And then you're literally at the tail end of that match opportunity. You're saying, we're at 23 gifts, folks. We just need 2 more gifts. If you're here tonight thinking about giving $500, please step up, double your gift now. Your $500 doubled to 1,000 gets doubled again and becomes $2,000, right? And then when it gets down to that last one, I'll say something like, I guarantee you everybody in the room will stand up and cheer for you if you raise your paddle right now.
Yeah.
If you are that 25th gift that helps us meet this full match. And people just do it naturally, right? That's that person, that paddle goes up, a third of the room stands up and cheers for them. Who doesn't want to be cheered for, right?
I love it.
And so, yeah.
Does that help, Jennifer? we got 10 minutes, Chris.
Yeah.
Does that help, Jennifer? Is that good for, and then also you'll have a way that you can access Chris's fundraising brain. You can get in there and enjoy yourself. Yeah. No, but I hope that helps, Jennifer. Thank you so much. And once again, congratulations on that. I think that's fantastic. I'm saying this just because for time's sake.
Hit me on LinkedIn also. Hit me on
please.
LinkedIn. Jennifer,
Yeah.
Kenzie, whoever else is out there, hit me on LinkedIn.
Yep. Cool. Thank you, brother. Perfect. Kenzie, I want to hit Chris with this question, and then I want to fold it into Chris. You figure out how you want to do it. Once again, another brilliant point. Bidding, increments do not have to end in 0. And I want you to tie that in, if you don't mind, at some point. But Kenzie, if you've never completed a paddle raise at your gala, and it is not a common practice in a small community, how do you begin this process and conversation? Great question, Kenzie. Thanks for being so patient too.
Yeah, I think this is a great question. And I have clients all the time come to me and say, we've never done a paddle raise before, and half of our committee, there's 2 camps, right? The camp that says we need to use our event to raise more money, and the camp that says we've never done that before. We can't do that. That would change the feeling of our event completely. And you know you're going to have those people in advance. Engage your board, engage your committee, engage your volunteers, whoever, so that the word is out there. Like the last thing that I want is for somebody to walk into an event and see a paddle on the table and wonder, what is that paddle for? Right. Mm-hmm. So Kenzie,
no surprises.
Yeah, no surprises. You're having conversations with people throughout those, 6 months, 12 months, whatever, 4 months leading up to the event that says, hey, we're trying something new this year. We're getting 300 people together from the community. This is our opportunity to come together to do something bigger than any of us could possibly do on our own. Yes. To really, put community in action, right? 300 people, power of 300 people. And so, Kenzie, I think I would start it lower also in that first year. I would, I would set up a few gifts at the top level. Or maybe even the top 2 or 3 levels. Like I only need that one gift at whatever that top level is, and even then, if there's no pre-committed gift, whatever, we're still gonna raise a ton of money, and I'm gonna bring super big energy to help do it. Most auctioneers are, and so Kenzie, I think if you have somebody, let's say you start at $5,000 and you've got somebody, a board chair, chair emeritus, something like that, that will raise their paddle there. They set the bar for others, right?
Yep.
Especially when they're well known in a small community, and so then everybody else, might be a lot of the audience might be thinking, well, I'll give 500 of that. But then when they see the former mayor or the former whatever, the old, executive of the local plant or whatever raise their paddle at 5,000, they're like, ooh, I guess I need to be thinking bigger, right? And so they give 2,500, they give 1,000, that kind of thing. And so the other thing, I always try to take a swing for the fences. Some of my clients don't want me to, but like if I know I've got a $5,000 gift in the room, I'm gonna say one of two things. Is there a superhero or a champion in the room tonight that can raise their paddle at something bigger than 5,000? Like before we get started, I'm going to start at $5,000, but before we do this, is there a superhero, a champion in the room that can raise their paddle at something bigger, right? And that gives them the ability to say whatever number they want. And I will literally handheld microphone, run out into the audience, put the microphone in their face and say, what are we doing tonight? Right.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a $1.5 million gift. I've had a $500,000 gift. I've had a $200,000 gift and countless $50,000 gifts when we thought the biggest gift was 10,000 or 25,000 or whatever. Right. And the other version of that is I'm going to start at $5,000, but is there anybody that can be that superhero or that champion and give a gift of $10,000? Right. I look around the room to the left, to the right. If there's nobody, I say, thank you for letting me try. I know the answer if I don't ask. And so I had to ask. Now let's get back on track. We're at $5,000 and boom, that's where I know I have that pre-committed gift. So we're at 5,000, then we drop to 2,500, 1,500, 250, 100, we're done. Right.
Yep.
And you do it quickly also, Kenzie, so that you don't make it uncomfortable for the audience. Right. In that first year in particular, you don't push as hard as I pushed at a golf event the other night. Like we were trying to set a record and we beat the record by 30% the other night for Owls lacrosse here in Chicago. And I knew the audience, they knew me. I've seen them 3 years now. And I knew I could push, right? And that first year, don't push, right? Just get what you can get, thank them, move on, right? Yeah, I mean, you're gonna push a little bit, but not to an uncomfortable perspective.
Don't be afraid to stretch a little bit.
Yeah, and then the numbers on the end.
2 minutes or less, my brother. Exactly.
Numbers on the end.
Yep.
So, using that same example, 5,000, 2,500, 1,000. Let's say it's I just had a call this morning. It was their 99th anniversary, my favorite of the numbers, right? The bigger the number, the better it adds up. But why does every number end in zeros? It doesn't have to. Just like why every bid paddle has to be white, it doesn't have to, right? So find a number that's unique to you, right? So it ideally is going to tie back to your mission, right? So last year we did 73 programs in schools in impoverished communities, right? So we're going to add 73 to every number. Your CEO should mention it. Your event chair should mention it. The speaker right before I get up and do the paddle raise should mention it. That number 73 should be a consistent thing. Folks, you've heard the number 73 a lot of times throughout the night. Tonight, we're going to embed it into every number. We're at 5,073 or 5,730. Right. We're at 2,573. We're at 1,073. When 100 people do that $73 bump, you've just raised 7,300 extra dollars, and nobody in your room knew that they gave that money. Right. So the best time, in my opinion, Kenzie, to do the paddle raise is I believe, and I know that there's auctioneers that will disagree with me. I feel like live auction, patient, survivor, mission speaker, video, maybe, and then paddle raise. And the reason I say that is I want as many people to participate in the live auction, because that creates, if you've got 7 live auction packages, and none of them could be doubled, you've got 7 winners, right? But if you get 70 people to bid in the live auction, that's 63 losers. They've all signaled to their crew that they've got money to spend, right? So then when the paddle raise comes up, those 63 people, every single time, if they dropped out at 1,500, they raise their paddle at 1,500, right? I see it all the time. People drop out at 5,000 in a live auction, and then they raise their paddle at 5,000 in the paddle raise. And so, if a client says, no, we're going to do the paddle raise first, I get it. There's an argument to be made there, because 10% of your audience might care about the live auction, where everybody can participate in the paddle race. So get that money first and then go do the party stuff that comes with something, right? There's two types of donors, right? There's a donor that wants something for their gift, and there's a donor that will give you altruistically, right? And so cater to them, right?
Some of those are the same people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a Venn diagram.
So good. Hey, Courtney's going to put up, we got to give something away, Chris. This gets fun for us at the end of every episode. We could go on for 2 hours. This was a gift. Thank you. Yeah. This is what makes the webinar so great, everybody. Courtney has popped up. Text HGA to 73747. I'm going to give away a Kentucky bourbon experience today that you can use. I'm going to call someone live on the air that you can use at your next fundraising event, silent auction, live auction, online auction. You can use it as a golden ticket, for instance, whatever you like. I'm going to call a winner here in a sec. Who's going to do it? Courtney's going to send me over she's going to use the randomizer and send me over the number to call. So text HGA to 73747 and make sure your phone's on. So that way you can, because we've had that happen too. Where
to get this in.
So. Oh yeah, well, we'll stretch a little bit, man. Yeah, it's not going to shut. The studio's not going to shut down. But hey, brother, massive. Like I said, that's what makes this webinar so good. This kind of stuff can be used. Multiple things that you mentioned today. Gold, you can use at your very, very next event. As mentioned multiple times, we are going to put Chris's information in the recording. It's going to be in the show notes when this comes out as a recording on YouTube, all that good stuff. So you'll have plenty of access to Chris. Make sure to show him some love and support and say thank you on LinkedIn if you don't mind from us. Appreciate it. Like I said, that's what keeps this webinar going. It's just the great information. I'm just waiting on no pressure. See diggity. But Courtney's
let's go.
She's gonna send me a number and we're gonna give away a Kentucky bourbon experience here in a sec. Okay. But well, hey,
thanks again for having me. I appreciate it. It's always fun, talking on these, but also, we have a ton in common musically and all that kind of stuff. So it's always fun just to talk. I think we could talk all afternoon.
Of course we could. Music. Of course we could. Yeah, and travel and the live auction and the fun. And yeah, it's so good. Thank you, brother. It means the world that you came. Appreciate you spending time with us again. All right, I got a number. Oh, I know where this is too. I got all these area codes memorized. Here it goes. Let's make sure my phone works. How about that?
This is fun.
It gets really fun, man. Yeah.
Whose number out there is ringing right now?
Hello. Who am I speaking with? Hey, Jamie, how are you? This is Trevor. We just spent the last hour together. I'm doing really well. How are you? Thanks for coming.
I need to figure out how I can get your emails to know about all the webinars because I sent this one to me, so I got to figure out how I sign up to know.
Oh, Jamie, I'll send you information for that. Just go to the website. It's updated every single week. There's a little webinar tab on the website. So thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you for the kind words. The team loves it. You won the Kentucky bourbon experience as well. Well, believe it, it's real. And the bourbon's real too, apparently, over there too. Well, thanks so much. What are you raising money for? Oh, I lost you.
Oh, I lost you there for a second.
What are you all raising money for? The name of the organization, all that good stuff. Oh yeah, Kimball Art Center. Yeah.
We've worked with you guys to do a couple of the trips.
Awesome.
We've done like the Tuscany trip, Portugal trip, to kind of dabble with the types of trips that you guys do that are pre-packaged, so it takes a little pressure off of our team.
Oh my gosh, it's like a live testimonial. Thank you so much, Jamie.
We put together these other cool experiences, but there's such a value to you guys doing it and hand holding the winner, and it's worth the percentage back to you guys fully.
Oh, can't thank you enough. That was so sweet of you. Thank you, Jamie. It's almost like it was choreographed. I appreciate you. Thank you for the kind words. Yeah. You rock. Well, hey, someone from our team will be reaching out with the information for the Kentucky Bourbon Experience. And like I said, thank you so much for the kind words and for joining us again. It means the world to us and the team. So look forward to helping you all moving forward. And I appreciate you so much. Thanks, Jamie. All right. Have a great afternoon. All right. Thank you.
Jamie's like, I'm going to take the rest of the afternoon off now.
What a sweetie pie. That was so cool. That just made my day. And I turned red. Oh my goodness.
Thanks everybody for the questions as well. That was great.
Yeah, there was some really great questions. Hey, check us out. We did a semblance of this episode on the Hey Nonprofits podcast, you can just go to Raise More Money. The YouTube channel is Raise More Money with Chris. We did an episode and another clip of one that was fantastic. Chris's blog is amazing. There's a ton of just, once again, we're putting our best information out there for free. Chris, thanks so much for being on board with that, man. Like I said, it means the world. It means the world to know you and the work that you're doing, brother. So appreciate you and appreciate everybody else for coming. So thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks, bro. Talk to you soon, okay?